Yokohama, 1809. The dealer passes out the cards. In the corner, a man smokes an 18-inch pipe. The game is Oichukabu. 3 cards per hand. If their total is 12, a player scores 2. If it's 19, a player scores 9. But if it's 20, the dreaded 8-9-3 hand, the player scores 0. One gambler looks at his cards and raises. "You are bluffing, Yoshida," says the dealer. Yoshida stammers. "You're spoiling the game." "You're bluffing, just like you bluffed that you needed a loan to ship rice to Kyoto. You gambled that money away at our rival's establishment." "What? No!" Yoshida protests. The other players suddenly grab Yoshida, pushing his face to the table. "Stop! I'll pay! I'll pay!" "Yes," the dealer says, leaning close to his ear. "You certainly will." The man in the corner gets up and casually knocks the tobacco out of his iron pipe. He slaps his palm with the heavy bowl. Clack! Yoshida's bloody cards spill onto the table. It's a bad hand. 8, 9, and 3. Or, spoken aloud, Yakuza. Thanks so much to Factor for being the secret that keeps us extra historians well-fed fast. Welcome, Helios, to your final initiation of knowledge into the Ordo Extra Historia. Today, we will be exploring the origins of the Yakuza, Japan's secret brotherhood of gangsters. And know that should you make it through these trials, you will be made a master of history. Please note that isn't a master's in history because we are not an accredited secret society. Thank you for nothing, Department of Education. Still, let the final trial commence. Zoe, ring the bell of achievement. Allie, beat the drum of discipline. Rob, blow breath into the solemn slide whistle of wisdom. Ah, the sweet, sweet sound of knowledge. Because we're traveling back to Japan's Edo period and the origin of the Yakuza in the 18th century. Well, 18th century-ish. See, there's some debate over when the Yakuza began. There's no founding date for the organization, or it might be better to say for this type of organization, because the Yakuza is not one society, but a group of criminal syndicates that organize themselves in a similar manner. And these groups weren't started so much as they grew up organically. Traditionally, there are 2 lines of descent for Yakuza, both of which stemming from the lower rungs of Japan's shogunate-era caste system. The first are the Dakiya, the peddlers or traders, who were considered the lowest class in the shogunate, below even farmers because they lacked land. And given their status, they quickly realized that they needed a means of organizing and protecting themselves, especially during the Shinto festivals where they frequently set up stalls. Certain members would provide security for a fee, while others organized the allocation of the stall's locations. Of course, eventually it was standard that the more you paid the organizer, the better location you received. This evolved into a protection racket, and inevitably brought different groups of peddlers into conflict due to overlapping territory. The results were brawls, targeted beatings, and intimidation, tactics the Yakuza would become known for. The other strain were the Bakuto, or keepers of gambling establishments. Technically, they ranked even lower than the peddlers since gambling was illegal, despite it being widely practiced. But these gamblers had a thing that was frequently lacking at a local level in Edo, Japan, particularly as the shogunate's rule squeezed the country economically: cash. And this made them valuable and prominent citizens who might maintain temples, fund infrastructure, provide relief for the poor, and aid after natural disasters. In a country without a banking system, these proto-Yakuza would also offer financial services such as loans, though they were often enforced with violence. They protected communities from bandits, but also clashed with rival gambling houses for influence and territory, using violence and murder to expand their miniature empires. And Ronin, wandering samurai, naturally gravitated toward their employ. The word Yakuza comes from this tradition, being one of the worst hands in their chosen game of Oichukabu. Not only did this hint at their origins in gambling houses, but it also suggested that the Yakuza was a way to improve your lot if you got a bad hand in life. Then, at some point, these 2 strains merged into a subculture with its own hierarchies and traditions, the result of which was a Yakuza organization that saw itself as a family, with a head who is a surrogate father figure ruling over his sons lower down the pyramid. Like the Confucian family unit, in the Yakuza, older brothers would rank above younger brothers, creating a feudal system, much like the shogunate itself, where financial tributes and loyalty were paid upward. The Yakuza also intentionally mirrored this lord-vassal relationship in its initiation ceremonies, where a new initiate and his new superior would solidify their bond by ritualistically consuming sake from the same bowl. This was extremely similar to a standard ritual for a samurai pledging allegiance to his lord. As a sign of status and membership, high-ranking members of the group also commissioned tattoos covering their chests and arms, generally stopping at the elbow where it could be concealed in a kimono, revealed only in closed settings among other Yakuza members, such as playing cards topless. These markings expressed the wealth and bravery of an individual, since the process was both expensive and excruciating. Plus, in the days before tattoo removal, it also provided an irrevocable symbol of loyalty. Once inked, you were Yakuza until death. You couldn't just disappear and live a normal life. And loyalty to the organization was held as absolute, with members told to break ties with blood family and treat their surrogate relationships of the Yakuza as their own kin. They shared a unique slang language and hand signals to identify other members and also communicate their meaning in code. Should a member lie to his superior, or cheat, or break the rules of the organization, they would seek forgiveness in a special ritual, where the offender would cut off the tip of their left pinky finger, or the ring finger or middle finger on subsequent offenses. These were the operative fingers in leveraging a sword during a swing, and therefore showed humbling self-sacrifice, while also symbolically demonstrating how the organization did not work properly if there was a weak member. By the year 1800, the Yakuza had gained enough power to be a political force in certain regions, with the shogunate recognizing high-level commanders as semi-official samurai, allowing some to wear swords and have a measure of civic control through policing powers. And that wasn't really surprising. After all, the shogunate government itself was a feudal organization that provided security in exchange for tribute and enacted its will with violence. Yet, despite this favorable treatment, when revolutionary forces attempted to restore the emperor to full power in 1868, triggering the Boshin War, which you can actually see our series on here, most Yakuza organizations sided with the restorationist samurai against their former allies in the shogunate. After the Meiji Restoration, this cooperation between the government and Yakuza continued. During the period of the Taisho democracy, from the 1910s through the 30s, several known Yakuza members served in the prime minister's cabinet and one as the leader of the Conservative Party. This political success came on the back of investment in the newly opened and booming construction and dockyard sectors in Japan, some of it done under legitimate corporate entities that served as a cover for criminal activity. This three-way partnership of business, politics, and crime culminated in 1919, when several prominent Yakuza families gathered in a banquet hall with right-wing politicians and industrial leaders in a sake-sharing ceremony to cement a political alliance. Though the members were secret, the formation of their new coalition was made very public the next morning, as planes dropped 10,000 leaflets over Tokyo announcing the venture. The target of this deal was the Japanese labor movement, which had grown in power and intensity through the first decades of the 20th century. Inherently nationalistic and aggressive towards perceived enemies such as communists and leftists, the Yakuza became a paramilitary wing of the Japanese right, being used to violently suppress strikes and union organizing. Ironically, a group created as an early form of labor organization had become anti-union, thus completed the Yakuza's rise to prominence in Japanese society. A far-reaching organization that had interests in protection rackets, sex work, extortion, blackmail, narcotics, and human trafficking. But also, despite all of that, was considered almost a semi-official institution in Japanese life that had political connections and openly helped with earthquake relief. One that, at its peak in the 1960s, was estimated to boast over 180,000 full members. Yet its prominence might also have been its downfall. Anti-organized crime laws in Japan, as well as greater job opportunities, have stymied the organization's recruitment and profits, so the modern families are estimated to have less than 12,000 full members. Or perhaps they've merely been temporarily dealt a bad hand, and will rise once more when the deck is again shuffled. Congratulations, Master of History! You have achieved the highest rank in the Ordo Extra Historia! Except there actually is one rank higher than that. I know it's crazy, it's so secret, we couldn't tell you about it until now. The rank of Patron. where you can see episodes before the uninitiated sheep do, join the conspiratorial whispers of our Discord server, and help shape the future of extra history from the shadows by suggesting and voting on topics that eventually become animated episodes on this channel. So check out our top secret Patreon, either right here or in a link below. Because, like any self-respecting secret society, you gotta remember one thing. There's always another level. You know, all-knowing maniacal laughter sure does build up an appetite. Well, it's a good thing I found the secret solution to stopping my insatiable hunger in Factor. Factor, of course, being my favorite ready-to-eat meal delivery service that I've been using for a year and a half now. Each of their meals is ready in just 2 minutes with no mess, no prep, and my absolute favorite, no cleanup. Just really great food ready when I have time to eat it. It's seriously the least stressful part of my day, and I'm actually super thankful for it. Each week, I get to review Factor's rotating menu and pick what I'm feeling from their tons of seasonal meals and add-on options. Things like cold-pressed juices, protein shakes, wellness shots, and smoothies which continue to smash my expectations. They have so many options to choose from, I can always be sure that everyone in my household gets the food that they love fast. And with spring in full swing, I went with their spicy sweet potatoes and peanut sauce, which has now become one of my absolute new faves. I'm gonna be reordering that one. And since I didn't have to cook a whole meal from scratch, I was actually able to camp the PlayStation Direct site and finally snag a PlayStation Portal at cost. Haha, take that, you filthy scalpers. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use our code EXTRACREDITS50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next 4 boxes. Wait, for real? Heck yeah. So now it's Tasty Task time. Get fast and flavorful meals at a deep discount right here. And then once dinner is done, check out our next sweet selection here. Say, did you hear the one about Kuya Koi, Joseph Blame, Izzy Coin, Ilkner, Dominic Valenciana, Arclight Games, Angelo Valenciana, and Ahmed Ziad Turk being legendary patrons? Yeah, turns out they're the best.